Welcome to this next episode of the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for joining us each week, and thank you for joining us at Mile High 11, and make sure you dial in being at Mile High 12, and make sure, if you haven't already, to hit subscribe so that you never miss any Mile High tick, whether it be on YouTube or Stitcher or Apple or whatever, iTunes, whatever way you listen or watch the podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe. And today, there's a few people in your life that you can consider, real friends, great souls, people that just will be there for you. And Dr. Joe Arvay is one of them. He is just a phenomenal soul. He kicks off Mile High each year just because he just brings such great energy, and we know where his heart is in chiropractic, and just brings everybody together. And he's known as the SpineGeek, okay, has been practicing in North Glen, Colorado forever, okay, or something close to forever. And he's been at multiple world championships, from judo to Olympics. But his favorite thing, regardless of whether he speaks, where he speaks, or where he cares of people in these championship Rio Olympics and such, his favorite thing is taking care of his practice members in his office and being with his family. And so we're really grateful to have you here today, Dr. Joe. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Mile High Podcast.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, I've been in North Glen, Colorado. I've been in practice for over 32 years. I've been in North Glen for 31. And whether it's going to the Rio Olympics in 2016 or the London Olympics in 2012, we had practice members there competing, or being the chiropractor for the Colorado Rapids when they won their championship in 2010. I mean, chiropractic has thrived in Colorado because of you and because of me and because of what we've been doing. And again, I'm still on assignment, and there's no, I think Richelle nailed it at the last, at Mile High 11, where her happy place is right there next to her table. And that's the same thing for me, that my assignment, and there's no better place for me to be. I know the world is a better place the longer I'm at those tables right now, and just having fun and just clearing people's nerve systems and helping them become special people that they are. So yeah, so it's fun, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Love you guys. We go way back as far as making the world a safer place for chiropractic and for humanity. So it's fun to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you here, and let's help people get to know Joe the man a little bit. How did you find your way into chiropractic?
That's a divine story. It's like I grew up. My mom was a nurse, and I had a heart to help people. And I went to community college on a trumpet scholarship, so got my school paid for, toot my own horn. And I flunked the nursing. She had to take a math test to get into the nursing program, and I flunked the math test. And I'm like, well, that's not good. And then I started working at a gym, and next door to the gym was a chiropractor. And like I'm sure a lot of people, well, I could use to get my back cracked. So I walked into that office with all the wrong. I wasn't like, oh, I want to be healthy and strong and one with the university. None of that. I was like, hey, I'm a wrestler. I like getting my back cracked. And so I walked in there and said, hey, can I, and again, I'm 58 now. This was what, 1984, 85. I'm like, I had no clue what was going on, but I, divinely got led into this job, and then divinely got led to go to the chiropractor. And as I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to school for sports medicine. Like everybody says, I want to treat athletes, right? I want to work with athletes. No, you don't. Maybe you do. But I just looked at this guy, and I had a thought saying, you know what? This guy's having fun. He's making a good living. He doesn't have to get his hands all bloody, like being, medical doctor, stuff like that. I said, I should look into this chiropractic thing, because, what would it hurt? I could go to chiropractic school, and when I get out, I could just go, if it didn't fulfill whatever I was looking for, then I could just go to medical school then and just figure that, I had all ego, all attitude. There's nothing could stop me. And then, so I went to community college, because back then you only need 60 hours of prereqs, plus organic chemistry though. And then my school didn't carry organic chemistry, so I had to go to Eastern Michigan University. I'm from Michigan, to basically pass organic chemistry. And then I wanted to wrestle. My dream was to be in the Olympics for wrestling. I wrestled in high school, wrestled in college, would go to camps all around the country. That was I mean, man, you get me watching Rocky, I start crying, because that was like, that was just to go. And even since a child, 1972, I can remember way back when Mark Spitz, again, I'm dating myself. I still watch, when I watch the Olympics, I cry at the commercials. It just moves me. So there's something in me to have that champion spirit, to have that Olympic goal or whatever, or be the best version of yourself, whatever that is. That was poured into me very little, like 1972. So I was 7 years old, and I still haven't shaken that yet. So I'm going into, wrestling in college, and then I flunk organic chemistry the first year. I flunked it the second semester. You have to be a full-time student in order to wrestle. So I took this exercise physiology class, and boy, this little blonde girl was sitting up front, and man, she had the pretty blue eyes, and she stole my heart. And that was how I met my wife, Eileen. And then, so I got my organic chem finally, praise God, out of the way. And now I'm ready to go in 1987 to Life Chiropractic College in Marietta, Georgia, because being from Michigan, I'm like, I ain't going to Iowa. I don't know. I didn't know anything about the mixtures and straights and different. I just knew that being from Michigan, I did not want to spend winters in Iowa. I'd much rather spend winters in Atlanta. Again, divine leading, right? And so I get down to Atlanta, Marietta, Georgia, and there's 3 warehouses. The cadavers are out in these little trailers. And I'm thinking, what have I gotten myself into? But during orientation class, and because I didn't know anything, I didn't know about the politics in chiropractic. I didn't know anything. I was just dumb and stupid, full of ego, piss and vinegar, and I'm going to be a chiropractor, I guess. Didn't even know really what it was. I didn't know about the green books or the principle. I didn't know how to drop keys. I wasn't who I was back then. I am now. I was just full of me. But by the grace of God, again, divine appointment, the little librarian at Life College during orientation class said that chiropractic was born on September 18th, 1895. Well, my birthday is September 18th, 1965, right? I'm not as old as BJ, but right then, again, another, what do you want to call it? Another tier, another level just dropped into my spirit, into my heart, going, okay, I must be here for a reason. And so going to Life College and, excuse me, getting out in 1991, I was a Thompson Club president. I got certified in Thompson. I love to adjust. I got to hang out. So Larry Webster was one of my instructors. Larry Webster was my daughter's first chiropractor. Clay Thompson, adjusted me, my family, my wife. So I learned from Clay Thompson, the actual Thompson technique. So that was Sid Williams was teaching assemblies. And so that was now I look back, that was a season of chiropractic that was very special to me, knowing that, it doesn't last forever.
Right.
And so I got out of school, spent a year in Ohio, came out to Colorado because I just felt, again, divinely led out here. And here we are, 31 years later, here we are having fun. So, yeah. So, excuse me. I get excited.
And I love that you said having fun. I love that you said having fun, because it's so much fun to practice chiropractic. So now, you've said this before to me. What would you call the chiropractic promised land?
Well, let me just back up. Let me back up for a second. It wasn't always fun. We chase shiny things. We listen to chiropractic influencers. We listen to people. So, coming out of my school, I thought you had to do certain things a certain way or you weren't a real chiropractor. And what I want to tell these young kids is, what? Have fun. Check it out. Check your facts. Figure out what is going on with, the people and stuff like that. I get choked up talking about this because after about 10 years in practice, I said, listen, I feel like every year I'm rolling this giant boulder up a hill. And boy, it gets tiring. And then come January 1st, you got to let that boulder roll all the way back down to the bottom of the hill. And it got tiring. So I said, listen, if the next 10 years of my life, 10 years of my practice is like the first 10 years, I'm out. I am out. So I just started becoming a nice guy and having fun and doing my scripts, but not scaring people, you know? And so that's when I started having fun. And then really started developing what my chiropractic promised land really was, which was my land. It's my promised land, not somebody else's promised land. Because I realized the happier and stronger and healthier I was as a man, as a husband, as a doctor, then that would vibrate, that frequency would just spread into my patients. You know, instead of getting mad at people if they blew their diet or missed a visit, or because again, the problem with chiropractors is that we're right. We have the truth, but we can become self-righteous and we can use that truth to beat people up with, or we can use that truth to share love. You know, it depends. It's consistent in churches. It's consistent in everywhere you go. They have the truth, but they don't always use it the right way to bring love and peace and joy to people. And so I developed
That's all such a great point. This is such a great point for whether they new or old docs, whether they're new
right
in practice or been practicing a long time.
Right. Because again, if you're out to save the world, you're going to want to do this for a long time. And the message never changed. Can I have some water, please? The message is never going to change. But that's what, you know, it's kind of funny. You see these old movies where these soldiers, Japanese soldiers, are still holding their post, and the war's been done for 30 years. There's times I feel like that. I'm like, what do you mean? BJ told us in 1958 to guard the big idea well, guard it well. Well, we're still wearing masks. We're still freaked out. We still want things back. You know, the whole world has not gotten the big idea yet. So therefore, we still have work to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, that's the world. And again, speaking of the world, if you follow the Bible, which we do, or you ever seen the movie of Moses? You know, when he lived in Egypt, you know, I call that a 2 + 2 = 5 culture or society. That everybody went to the Egyptian schools, everybody went to the Egyptian hospitals, metaphorically. Everybody lived their life the Egyptian way, but it wasn't a principled way. It was a way that came from the Pharaoh straight down, right? And if you obey the laws of nature are different. And so all throughout history, you know, again, I'm bouncing around here, but our founding fathers came to America because they were stuck in a land full of tyranny.
Right.
And tyranny means the ruler thinks they're God, or they're the ultimate source, right? They're the source. They're the innate, if you would. And whenever you follow that, it just doesn't go well for society, health, humanity, the planet. It's out of order. It's subluxated, if you would.
Right.
So they come to this world and say, okay, first thing we're going to do, because when all this COVID crap hit and stuff like that, I got into the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and all this stuff. And I saw this phrase, the laws of nature and nature's God, the laws of nature, the laws of nature. So I started doing a deep dive on what the laws of nature are. And I'm like, oh, my word, it's the chiropractic principle. It's right there. It's above, down, inside out. That every thought matters. That's your intellectual property. And as long as you follow the universal laws of nature and how God designed it, you'll be okay. That was so cool about that's what's so cool that RFK said is like, you know, he said when we spoke at Mile High, you know, if the banks collapse and the world collapse, but you have your health, you'll figure it out, right? So, you know, so from 1776 and the laws of nature, you know, to back in, because history repeats itself. So it's the same story. So I feel like our patients, when they come into our office, they're living in the land of Egypt. All they know is what the medical model or what the world has told them when it comes to health, when it comes to education, when it comes to how to live. I mean, they have no faith in how the body is self-healing, self-regulating. They live in a land of what some people call peaceful slavery, right? They don't know that the body's self-healing. And so for me to try to have a principled conversation with them, I have to see where they're at first, and I have to listen to what their fears are and what they've been through, because they really don't know that 2 + 2 is really 4. They've been taught that 2 + 2 is 5.
Mhm.
So, and that's what a screening is really all about, is saying, hey, if there is a place that could help you get over this, whatever it is, and get to the cause of the problem, would you be interested? And they don't even, they think all that they've been doing, like medication, shots, and surgery, that's their only hope. That's all you need. That's healthcare, right? That's what they've been taught.
Right.
So they're living in a prison, basically. And then, so day one in our office, or day one, is saying, hey, there is a better way. Are you interested? Yes. Okay. Come in for an exam, come in and let's see the cause of the problem. So you take them through your policies and procedures, because they're used to live in a 2 + 2 = 5 world that's been lying to them.
Right.
And now, and my intent is to take them from where they're at to the promised land.
Mhm.
But it has to be their journey. Again, if you read the book Story Brand, I'm not the hero. They're the hero.
Right.
I'm just the
Right.
guide. I'm the Gandalf.
That's such an important thing for people to realize.
Right. Once you realize they're the hero, you'll stop being an angry chiropractor. When you think it's all about you and your technique, you're going to be an angry chiropractor. It's not. It's about you being a servant and a shepherd, realizing that the world is stuck in a lie. Their belief, they've been fed since day one, and generationally, that 2 + 2 = 5. That, that the body's dumb, and that when you hurt, you need medicine, or you need a shot for protection, or you have to take out organs to be better. And that whole thing, I say, is 2 + 2 = 5. So you get a patient, you get a person. Okay, I'm on board. Now what? Well, we got to go on a journey. We have to start. You have to begin living each day in alignment with the laws of nature, in alignment with the principles, so that your body begins to heal from above down, inside out. And the only way to do that is to change your thinking, to get your spine clear, to change what you're eating. Because again, I teach that food can have a positive or negative neuroplastic input on you. And if it has a negative neuroplastic input, then that creates subluxation. I'm sorry. Am I a mixer? Whatever that means. But again, so also I want you moving. I want you stretching. I want you exercising, getting out of your chair, because sitting all day can have a negative neuroplastic input, or getting exercise every day, walking, hiking, can have a positive neuroplastic input. And then you got to stay away from toxins. Again, RFK said it, that it's the environmental toxins, whether it's in your water, your food, in a vaccine, that literally shuts down this law. It's evil because it shuts down the laws of nature. It shuts down the brain, right? It just, this person no longer they become less human. So going from Egypt, now you're out of Egypt. How do I get to the promised land? It's simple. Every day you make more choices that are in line with 2 + 2 = 4 than the choices you used to be making, where 2 + 2 = 5. And this goes for marriage. This goes for health. This goes for business. This goes for practice. Stop chasing the lies and start doing things one day at a time that takes you somewhere. Right. And then eventually you wake up in what we call the chiropractic, or the health, or the promised land, where the majority of your choices are 2 + 2 = 4. You have a warp. Your time is directed each day. Your mind is directed each day. Your spine is directed each day. Your food, your movement. You live a non-toxic life. You don't let toxic media or toxic things get. You protect your promised land. You live majority of the time 2 + 2 = 4. Yes, there's times where 2 + 2 we make mistakes. This is not a perfect. This is just consciously being aware of where you're at every day, realizing you're living in a world that wants you to come back to Egypt. They want you to start living a 2 + 2 = 5 life. They want you to go back to the way you used to be when you were weak and more of a prisoner of them. But no, we want to. And now they're, again, what's the problem with COVID? They mandated that we forget and we leave the promised land. They mandate that we begin to live like we're living back in Egypt. So that's where we have to fight for our rights. Simply not to make the Egyptians, people living in the 2 + 2 = 5 world, follow us, but we just want to make laws and rules to protect our ability to live a 2 + 2 = 4 life for ourselves, for our children, for our families, for our future generations. That's what freedom is. Freedom is a choice. I don't care if you smoke or drink or not get adjusted, but don't make rules to where I can't, right? So that really, in a nutshell, is what the chiropractic promised land is, or the promised land that we try to live in to where we're free by choice. It's dangerous, but yet we get into alignment with how God made it. We go to God in the principle for all we need. We don't go to man and his lies for what we need. And that's kind of the nutshell of how that works.
Before I ask you the next question, you share a lot of this information, this knowledge, this point of view or perspective on SpineGeek.com, right?
Yes. SpineGeek.com and on the SpineGeek podcast. Mrs. Arvay and I, we feel, especially after the last, few years and such, that we have a burden to really leave this information. I don't want to die with this information in me. I don't want to die with this word, this wisdom, the experiences we've had in us. So we're about 25, 30 shows into we call the Spine Geek podcast, where nature makes the rules. The brain makes the rules. The principles make the rules, right? So we just talk about how we've raised 4 amazing adult children now. My children are 34, 30, 28, and 22. So when you hear me speak, it's not from a lack of experience or, a really cool coaching call I just got off of. It's stuff that we have lived through, blood, sweat, and tears, and fought and cry. And like this stuff, you can take it to the bank. And so we just sit down and we talk about on our podcast our experiences and how they still apply to today's mommies and daddies, today's generation, and how to live this 2 + 2 = 4 life, and how to live through the essentials and the principles of chiropractic. So it's all on SpineGeek.com. To get a hold of me, you can message me. Just Google SpineGeek. The podcast is a great learning thing for you and your practice members to listen to. It just shows the lifestyle of what we're talking about by getting out of Egypt, getting to the promised land, and then staying there. That's the hard part, is staying there. So yeah. Thanks.
I mean, who wants to stay in Egypt? You don't want to do that.
Well, again, that's what everybody else is doing. Again, right. It's nuts when you sit and think about that. Well, everybody has headaches. Everybody has infertility issues.
I know. I've heard that so many times during initial visits.
But it doesn't have to be that way. It's like, no, there's a whole different world. But again, you got to help them see the big picture. Yeah. Like you had those posters on your wall. Here's the journey. So help them get there.
Yeah. Yep. So, I want to ask you this. How was it for you speaking before RFK Jr. this year at Mile High?
Oh, man. So let me tell you, just again, divine appointment. I couldn't have orchestrated that. I actually thought that I wasn't going to speak. I'm like, okay, fine. Let's let him come up, because he's going to, it's all about him. It's all about the people in the seats. And that really was my preparation. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about him. He's probably not going to hear what I say. Maybe he does, maybe not. But I had to refocus myself and say, no, it's about you getting the people in those seats ready to leave the seminar a better version of themselves. I had to say something to, and if that included RFK, great, no problem. And Donnie said something that really hit me, because again, forgive me for this comment, but we say practice members, patients, and I'm like, semantics, because but no, he said something that was huge that I finally got it. Reason why you need to be at Mile High, just sitting there. But and I think this is how he said it, that he wanted to do something to this person's spine that would release the greater good inside them, so that then they would go and be a world changer. And so I went back home that night and rewrote my doctor's report and said, yes, the purpose of the adjustment is to help you smile more and be a better human and be a better version of yourself. But also, being a member of this practice means that you're going to go and think, say, and do something today or tomorrow that's going to make this world a better place for all of us here and future generations. That's the reason why I'm in practice. So going back to the talk, I thought, okay, Lord, just help me say something, think something, and do something on that stage for only 10 minutes that's going to influence this seminar, so that every person present will go back and think and say and do something that's going to affect the lives of millions come tomorrow. And if it starts with RFK and he wins the presidency, so be it. But it's even just more important with the children that was in that room that day, my wife that was in that room that day, my family, my chiropractic family. I wanted them to go back the next day and start thinking at a higher level, start speaking at a higher level, start doing things at a higher level to make this world a better place. And that really is what bottom line. And I'm so thankful that you gave me the 10. I'm like, really? You want me to open? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh boy, okay. And so that was my mindset focus going in. And my wife said I did a pretty good job. So
You did a stellar job. You did a stellar job. It was one of your best openings I'd ever heard.
It was good. It was good. Yeah, no pressure. Yeah, no pressure, Dr. Joe. Go ahead and kill it. Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, you bring a vibe that is very important to Mile High, and we appreciate that about you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here's the interesting thing that I also want to ask you. You and I really became connected or friends because we saw something that was happening in our state that wasn't we weren't copacetic with. It wasn't appropriate relative to what we want in terms of our grandkids being able to get chiropractic care in the state of Colorado.
Right.
And so, can you share a little bit about why it's important for a chiropractor wherever they are in the world to just be aware of what's going on in their backyard?
Well, and again, if the last few years hasn't woken you up, I mean, again, what we've been saying in our doctor's report, me personally, for the last 30 plus years, they're like, are you surprised? What? I'm like, no, I've been telling you this story, since 1918 in the Spanish flu and how chiropractic saved the world then. But the thing is that, again, this is why the metaphor that I listen, the only time I got in a fight in high school is when somebody punched my friend. You can punch me all you want. I don't get fired up about what's happening to me in this world or my practice.
Mm-hmm.
I get fired up when people have been lied to. The injustice of people, if you still want to smoke after they put a ugly sticker on the side of it saying this will kill you, fine, so be it. You've been warned, right? But we live in a world to where, whether it's chiropractic or healthcare, they're telling you a lie, like, yes, you can do this, you can do that, and you'll be fine. And no, you're not. So that's when we go to arms. And now when it comes to chiropractic, again, there's just evil out there that love to make chiropractic something that doesn't matter. They'd love to make chiropractic invalid. They'd like to make money off the chiropractor to help. Again, they want chiropractic to be the number one referral source for back pain and neck pain. That's why they let you do that in your state. Right. They try to control it and pass laws. So I believe chiropractic should be pure. You should have the freedom to practice chiropractic any way you want, as long as you're not hurting somebody, and just deliver the goods. I mean, as a chiropractor, you should be doing the same care to your patients that you do to yourself and your family. That's literally, to me, what 2 + 2 = 4 chiropractic is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when someone tries to come into our state and pass laws that say, no, we want you to start moving towards a 2 + 2 = 5 way. We're going to make rules and we're going to make laws that are going to limit your ability to do that to your children and to your family. And then whatever they tell you, oh, no, don't, no. The minute they start taking your freedom to practice chiropractic the way you do with your family is the minute you need to say something, because once you let them get in the door, man, look at chiropractic now. We've been around 128 years. And again, there's no chiropractic hospitals that I know of that are like that. The 2 + 2 = 5 people own that. Why? One law, one bill, one ruling at a time. And if we don't stand up and shut it down right away, I mean, just shut it down. Not even like, well, shut it down. Then and that's what we did way back in 1999, 1998, 2000.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it was. We just shut it down. No more.
Right. But the thing is, to do that, you got to show up. You got to get cognizant of what's going on in your state. You got to look at the board meeting notes, and then you have to have a tribe that is ready to show up, and that's, and we need that in more states. Otherwise, chiropractic will kind of continue to go in the direction that it's gone in so many places, for so many years.
Yeah. And that's what, listen, you can't expect the ICA you can't expect national organizations come into your state and make change. It doesn't work that way. And so we had to organize. And again, it doesn't take a lot of people, 5, 10, 20. Boy, you give me 10 or 20 committed. Again, Jesus only needed 12, right? And the one of the 12, he really wasn't on board. It was all about the money. But the thing is that you need to have, again, me, you, I can name them all off, you know,
Right. And be
when
ready.
it's time to
Be
go,
ready.
we're ready. Now, we had relationships around the world that we could call in to Chris
Right.
Kent and to call into people and say, hey, back us up. This is why we do it. Because you got to prove that what you're doing in chiropractic is the standard. It's normal. You know, like right now, if you
That's
watch
the
media,
issue. Right.
yeah, yeah. If you
That
want,
was
if you
the
look
issue
around,
that we had in Colorado 20 years ago. They said, well, you guys should know it's the standard. And we're like, what are you talking about? That's not the standard. The standard we do is this. You know, I
right,
don't know what you're talking about. Oh, well, you should know is you have a license. You should know what the standard is. I was like, what you're saying is the standard is not what the standard is in my world. And you're sitting on the board. So I don't know how you don't know that the standard is what Joe and I and, you know, other people are doing, you know?
right.
I mean, that
Yeah,
was the conversation back then.
yeah, yeah. Because we're in our practice busy, what we like to say, flipping burgers. We don't have time to sit there and look. We don't sit there and manipulate all the rules and say, how can we write this different? And then call the insurance commissioner and say, hey, if I make this rule, will you? I mean, back in the late 80s and 90s, guys who had way too much time on their hands, chiropractors, literally sabotaged and self-destructed and rewired the whole chiropractic, especially in Colorado, the
Right.
whole chiropractic board and network and just chiropractic network, not network, but and really, I mean, they did a brilliant job on sabotaging principle-based chiropractic. You know, that if you weren't insurance-based, you're going to have a hard time. And then the governor, way back when, you know, he stroke of a pen, our auto, you know, PI went away and workers' comp went away. Not that that has to be the majority of your practice, but people no longer had the freedom to see any chiropractor they wanted. They had to go to somebody on their list. And so that freedom got taken from us. And so, you know, and then these doctors wanted prescription rights, right? Well, it's just like vitamins that, you know, again, they don't blatantly come out and punch you in the face. They just try to pick fights with you and try to get you to come on there, you know, and see both sides. And you got to stick to the principle. You got to stick to 2 + 2 = 4 and shut it down because it's not. And again, they have alternative motives. They want to grease their own pockets. They want to profit over people. None of this is good for public safety, their agenda. And again, that's why we stepped in and tried to shut it down. And we still try to keep shutting it down to this day.
Right, right. And that's what you have to do around the world. You know, you got to take care of your own backyard. You got to take care of your own backyard and have, you know, a tribe of people that, you know, you can call on, you know. Yeah. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a big army. It could be Gideon's army. It's a small one, you know, but but it has to be.
It's a marathon.
Right.
Here's the thing. I think, you know, and where I come from, Max Living, there's 5 essentials. There's your mind, your spine, food, exercise, and detoxing. But the 6th one is you got to be able to, and it's a marathon, you got to have a weekly schedule on making sure, like you said, the world still is safe to practice in. The world is still, you got to have all your local politicians on your, you know, email, text, speed dial, and have relationships with them. And because we think, oh, we passed the bill, okay, we can rest now. No, this is just as much as far as, call it political fitness, call it legal fitness, I don't even want to call it, but you've got to always keep your eye on what people are doing and have people in place. I'm not saying you be the one, but you got to be a group of people to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on and what's being passed. And that takes an army of people to do that. And then you all just light up whatever you know, that's legal now to, you know, to do it, because one woman will burn themselves out. They'll lose their practice because that's their focus. And that can make you very angry and bitter. You have to have a group of people in your state, around your world, to know what's going on and then shut it down. It's not hard. You can see what they're doing and just shut it down. There is no, well, lukewarm. No, shut it down. It's not good. It's not good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it takes vigilance, but, you know, vigilance with love, vigilance with peace and ease. You don't have to be vigilant, be at war. You have to be vigilant to what's going on. And, you know, a lot of times because we're so focused, as you said, flipping burgers, we're not necessarily aware of that. So just having some team, you know, that's aware of that and fueling that with love. Now, you have a master class that you do about children's brains. Can you talk about that? Because I don't know.
I'd love to. But again, going back to what you just said, so I let my money let my money support the people to do the things I don't have time to do. So
That's
given
true.
to the foundation,
That's true.
given to the foundation, given to the, the different organizations that are about subluxation and stuff like that. That's how your money goes to work, because you don't want to give your money to something that's incongruent. Dr. Jim Temple talked about that. You always want to be congruent. And again, your money can sometimes, writing checks can sometimes help that too. So getting back to the master class, again, everything that I've been talking about the last, 5 hours here, the last few years, again, I just always trying to find better language to really what's going on with the laws of nature, and then all that stuff that's in the Bible. It's wisdom, it's biblical wisdom. There's insight of how to handle today's problems were solved thousands of years ago, and it's out there for us to see through the laws of nature, through what the Bible says, and then these essentials that we teach through the chiropractic principle. And so understanding that our brains, again, at conception, right? That's when the brain and nervous system started forming, that power came down, that neshama,
Right.
that rivulet of energy. So knowing that everything about us is controlled by the brain. It's the safety pin cycle. It's the third. I was talking to Dan Lyons this weekend because he was telling me my safety pin cycle goes clockwise. Okay. The body, there has to be an input to the brain.
Right.
And he looked at it and said, wait a minute, it's counterclockwise. I said, well, I looked at some old pictures and I found one, I think either from Palmer or somewhere, that actually had it going clockwise. So
really?
Yeah. And mine goes clockwise. So whatever, deal with it. But here's the point. If you listen to Lipton or anybody, and the 33 principle is not called supply and demand, it's called demand and supply. And he pointed that out to me. And I said, exactly. That why did God create us in Genesis? There had to be an input. There had to be a reason. The environment dictates the expression of life. And that reason is love. So the child, you can't have a thought by itself. The brain does not just operate by itself. It needs a demand, and that's our environment. So from the birth, from the first heartbeat in the womb, there's an environment. And we all know the mood and the attitude and the health of that mother and father and the past generations has a direct effect on that child's brain. So from conception to birth, input to that brain as it's developing gives you an output, which is a healthy child at 40 weeks. But then once the baby's born, why do we say in our office that chiropractic care starts the first week of life? Because that baby's now in an environment that, if that environment goes south, can create subluxation. If that environment is protected, then it can prevent subluxation. So we want to make sure that baby is sleeping and eating and pooping and moving, getting the nervous system checked. Why? Because that's an environmental input to that brain. That brain knows what to do with that, and it creates life. It has a 2 + 2 = 4, positive neuroplastic, positive vagal tone, green grass effect on the body. So the body then can develop, the body can begin to grow. So the master class is basically taking that child from conception all the way to age 13, how to raise it in a positive neuroplastic environment to know that everything matters. It's game on 24/7, 365. It's not that I do a 30-day or 75-day challenge and lose weight. I like to use the 10 commandments on that. Like Danny, I'm going to do a 30-day challenge where I'm not going to steal for 30 days. And I'm going to take pictures of myself every day. And I'm going to show people how I'm not stealing. Well, what do you do on day 31? Go back to stealing? I'm not going to cheat on my wife for 30 days. It says, thou shalt not, what am I going to do? Go back? No, you don't. So somehow we think, like, Dr. Joe, do I have to get adjusted for the rest of my life? I'm like, yeah, if you want to be healthy. Do I have to eat broccoli? Yeah. Do I have to pray? Yeah. Do I have to? There's simple lifestyles. So, but mommies and daddies aren't taught this. So now they have this child, like they want to have a healthy child. They want to live free of drugs and medication. They want to live strong, but they don't know how. And they got to know that it comes from the brain first. And so this masterclass is basically 14 lessons of me going off just like this on how to literally take it from A to Z. And
14. 14.
14, man.
Wow.
I turned on the video camera or the phone, And I just went. And when I was done, I had 7.5, almost 8 hours of content. And I chopped it into 14. It's like, why do children get sick? How can they get healthy? Why do teenagers get sick? How can they get healthy? And knowing that you've been lied to as far as how to raise children. I mean, they're sicker RFK talked about this. So literally it's the solution, because again, bottom line, your child's brain makes the rules. Keep the brain happy, keep the environment happy for the brain, and you'll have a happy child that's strong. The emotions will be strong, their biology will be strong, and their behavior, they'll be pleasant to be around, and they'll be they'll have great social talents and parameters as far as it all, but it all starts in the brain. Fix that, you fix the child.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. and how do people get access to this?
Well, basically, easiest thing is simply you can just message me, go to my SpineGeek website, message me there. You can Google SpineGeek, you can message me. You can I'm on just go to SpineGeek on Instagram, go to SpineGeek on Facebook, SpineGeek.com, my website, message me, you can reach out to me and find me there, and I can get you hooked up. I can I can email it to you, we can talk about it, we'll give you a good deal. Don't worry.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really great. And people need those resources so that they have something to reference, help them do a better job in their office, educating people and helping more people live green grass lives.
Yeah. And the masterclass itself is to the parent, it's to the child, it's to the doctor who wants to teach this in their practice but doesn't know where to start. So again, this is really just, man, it's really good truth to lay down to people. It won't come back and bite you in the butt. It's not the latest fad. It's literally what my wife and I have been living for the last 30 years of raising a family. It's been around since the creation of time. And when people apply this, it works. It works. Like RFK said, well, if it all collapses, if you have your health, you'll figure it out. And this is just a way to live, to how to figure it out. So yeah, it's good.
Love it. Love it. Again, I love what you're doing in your office. I love how you're also helping lift up more chiropractors and more families with the SpineGeek podcast. That's phenomenal. So where can people listen to, watch the SpineGeek podcast? It's
simple. Go to SpineGeek.com. At the top, it's going to say, listen to Dr. Joe's podcast. Click on that button and it'll take you right to the episodes that we have. It's on Spotify. It's all on where you find your major podcast stuff. I'm still learning all that. So just go to SpineGeek.com and message or Google me or find me. Come to my office. I'll help you out. Yeah, whatever.
Excellent. Well, again, Joe, thank you for loving up the people in North Glen there for all these years, and also your family and your and also loving up chiropractors and helping everybody just change more spines, lives, and minds. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about is what we can do to change, contribute to change spines, lives, and minds as best we can, because we know that there's a whole system that's teaching them about brown grass.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, the keys of health and humanity, the keys to health and humanity and making this world a better place has been dropped into each of our hands. Mm-hmm. So what are we going to do with it?
Right.
If not now, when?
Right.
If not us, who? So right. Yeah.
Well, and so thank you so much for being, we look forward to you kicking off Mile High 12. We got to come up with a theme for 12. I don't know what theme. We got to come up with what the theme for 12 is.
The Dirty Dozen, baby. The Dirty Dozen.
Something about that. And do all Western.
Yeah.
Right. Wild West. So, but thank you for kicking off in September 26th. If you didn't mark your calendar yet, now's the time. It's September 26th, 2024. There's nowhere else you want to be in September other than that. So, and so keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic. Check out SpineGeek.com. And Dr. Joe, we appreciate the message you put out.
Love you all. Have a great day.